Are you wanting to consistently get loud mixes and masters every single time? My name is Andrew Aurora, and I help artists and producers bring their creative vision to life through mixing and mastering, and I put out a video like this every single week. So if you enjoy this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that notifications bell so that way you never miss a video. And today I'm going to be talking about the 6 essential things you need to get loud mixes like a pro every single time. So let's jump right in. The first essential for getting loud mixes every single time is going to be great production. So pretty much everything you do and don't have control over is going to be based off of the quality of production. Whether this is your music or another artist's music, the production is going to set the stage for the problems or lack thereof that you are going to be facing while you're mixing. If the artist produced the music way too loud and it's clipping, then this is going to affect your ability to get a loud mix and to make it sound good. If they produce the music way too quiet and you have to gain everything up so much so that it raises the noise floor, then this is also going to affect your ability to get a loud mix and make it sound good. If they picked crappy samples like a kick drum sample, for example, that had way too long of a tail on the low end, then this is going to affect your ability to get a good mix and a loud mix. Point is, the production is a huge factor in whether or not you're going to be able to get a good mix or a loud mix. Just remember that production is where it always starts, and you want to make sure that you get everything good at the source. The next essential for getting loud mixes every single time is gain staging. So I'm sure you have heard this a bunch of times from pretty much everybody, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but that's because it is so important. Basically, gain staging is probably the most important part of getting a loud mix, loud master, and just being able to get consistent mixes and masters every single time. Basically, if you don't get your gain staging right, then you're going to be running into issues where your volumes aren't going to be where you want them to be, things aren't going to be hitting your plugins the way that you want them to be, and ultimately you're going to be facing a lot of challenges while you're mixing your music. And because I remember just how frustrating this was when I was starting out and when I was learning just to try to understand this core fundamental of mixing, I put together a video called Gain Staging Made Stupid Simple, where I basically went over gain staging and went over a very simple and duplicatable method to make sure that you get your gain staging right every single time and at least get it pretty damn close to ballpark every time that you mix a song, so that way you can just focus on mixing and never have to worry about gain staging again. And if you guys want to go check out that video, I will leave a link somewhere here in the video for you guys to go check that out.
Now, real quick, I wanted to mention my free resource, The Essentials Guide to Becoming a Beast at Mixing and Mastering. This includes my step-by-step mixing guide, my essentials to focus on to become better at mixing, my favorite mixing and mastering tips, and my favorite resources like my favorite books and favorite ear training program. And if you'd like to pick this up, you can do so by clicking the link in the description of this video. And of course, if you'd like to apply to work with me, there's also a link in the description of this video for that as well. Now on to the rest of the video.
The next essential for getting loud mixes like a pro every single time is getting your balancing right. So balancing and gain staging pretty much go hand in hand, and balancing is basically the definition of mixing. So when you're mixing music, your goal as a mixer is to establish a balance in terms of volume, dynamics, frequencies, and the spatial aspects of your mix, where each individual element can occupy its own space but also complement each other, so that way they develop a cohesive sound that works together to produce the intended vision of the song. And getting your balance right is an absolute necessity. For example, if your kick and your snare is way too loud, then it's going to be hitting your limiter before everything else and make it way more difficult for you to get a loud mix. If your vocals are way too loud, then you're going to be wondering why everything else is too quiet and why none of the other elements of your song are hitting your limiters and your compressors like you want them to. Point is, if you don't get your balance right, then you are not going to be able to get loud mixes or good mixes like a pro. And when you're starting out, it can be hard to know what is too much and what is too little because you don't even know what you're listening for. But you're in luck because I created a video where I go over a very simple exercise to help you guys master your balancing and really master the fundamentals of mixing as a whole. And it's called the Ultimate EDM Mixing and Mastering Guide for Beginners. And this isn't just for EDM mixing, this is actually for any kind of music. I just happen to use an EDM song as my example, but if you guys want to go check that out so that way you guys can start mastering the fundamentals of mixing, then I will leave a little link somewhere here in the video for you guys to go check that out. The next essential that you need to be good at for you to get loud mixes every single time is managing your low end. end. So low end is definitely going to eat up your headroom and prevent you from being able to push your mixes as loud as you want. Whether it's toms, kicks, sub drops, or any other low end element, these elements will come in and they will slam your compressors, slam your limiters, and prevent you from being able to push your mix as hot as you like. And overall causing your compressors and your limiters to squash your entire mix. On top of that, low end in tracks that don't even have that much low end will eat up your headroom and prevent you from being able to push a song as loud as you could if you just clean that stuff up. For example, a hi-hat track that doesn't really have any low end will actually still have some low end frequency information if you look at it on a frequency spectrum, and that low end frequency information is just not doing anything to contribute to your mix, but what it is doing is it is occupying headroom and it is taking up frequency space for things like your kick and your bass and other low end frequency instruments. And at this point, I've pretty much heard every single person on YouTube talk about cutting out the low end frequencies out of every single element except for the kick and the bass. And I hate to sound like an echo, but this is a pretty good rule of thumb to help you get started on controlling your low end. Of course, there are some elements that maybe you don't want to cut the low end out of. Maybe they are serving your mix. I don't want to sit here and tell you just as a rule of thumb, cut the low end out of every single thing that is not your kick or your bass. But, you know, if it's not really contributing to the song, then just get rid of it. I mean, it's just taking up headroom, and that goes for, you know, even your high frequencies. Some stuff has high sizzle frequencies, for example, that maybe you don't want, like maybe a guitar amp that maybe isn't contributing to the sound that you're going for. And ultimately, it's just a good rule of thumb to say to yourself, if these frequencies aren't really adding to the sound or helping the mix, then they should probably go. The next thing that helps you get loud mixes like a pro every single time is clippers. Clippers are probably the best tool for getting louder mixes. Basically, a clipper, what it does is it cuts off the top of the transient information and brings it closer to the body, which is a little bit different than a limiter, which squashes the transient and brings it closer to the body, which has a completely different sound. And just to be clear, clippers are not the same as clipping in your DAW. Clipping in your DAW usually sounds like crap. And what these clippers do is they tend to model what analog gear used to do when you would push it really hot and clip in the analog gear. That used to sound really good and would add like a nice saturation effect, and the point of these clippers is to kind of replicate that effect in a plugin form. Basically, clippers are a great way to get a mix or certain elements of a song louder and get it right up in your face without squashing those elements. And my personal favorite clipper that I've been using for years is JST Clip, but there are plenty of other amazing options like DF Clip or the clipper in Ozone 10. Clippers pretty much sound good on most things that you'll try them on, but I think that they sound really good on drums and they sound really good on your master. Go easy on the clippers on the master though. A little goes a long way, and clipping into a limiter sounds fantastic. And last but not least, to get a loud mix, we have limiters. Limiting tends to be the final stage of your mixing process, and if you have done everything right up until this point, then you should be able to get a fairly loud master without limiting too hard. If you limit too much, however, then you may end up distorting your mix, squashing your mix, and introducing artifacts that you really don't like, and it's just not going to sound very good. But if you do it right, then this is the final stage to getting a nice and loud master. So those are my 6 essentials for being able to get loud mixes like a pro every single time, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And of course, if you'd like to work with me and have me mix and master some of your music and possibly even have it featured on the channel where I can teach you how to mix and master your own music as well as the rest of my audience, then there's a link in the description for that as well to apply to work with me. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like on the video, leave me a comment, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have and share this with someone else who can gain some value from it. And I will see you guys next week. Peace.